There comes a time in the life of every man and woman when the soul rises up in rebellion not against others, but against the self. A moment when the inner voice, long ignored and choked by fear, bursts forth with a thunderous question: why are you not yet the person you were meant to become? If you have ever heard this voice and trembled and turned away, let this be the last day you do so. Let this be the hour you decide to master yourself, take charge of your destiny, and walk into the world with the authority of one who governs their own soul. It is not talent that separates the exceptional from the mediocre. It is not wealth, nor luck, nor lineage. It is the mastery of the mind, the unshakable control of one's thoughts, emotions, and inner world. For until you take the reins of your own consciousness, you will remain a servant to your impulses, a puppet of circumstance, and a prisoner of fear. But when you take dominion over your emotions and discipline your thinking, you ascend into a power so rare that the world itself bends to your will. Let us speak plainly. Most people are lazy not in body but in mind. They are not tired from work. They are exhausted from indecision. They are not beaten by others. They are defeated by their own undisciplined thoughts. They seek comfort instead of clarity, approval instead of purpose, and distraction instead of direction. And thus they wander, they wait, and they wonder why success evades them. Let me tell you why. They have not yet seized the throne of their own mind. The average person reacts, the exceptional person responds. This difference is the gateway to all mastery. When you react, you are governed by emotion. When you respond, you are guided by reason. Emotional reactivity is the great thief of power. It blinds the eyes, clouds the judgment, and chains the soul to every passing breeze of circumstance. But when a man learns to pause, to reflect, and to choose his response, he becomes as immovable as a mountain and as precise as a blade. You cannot build an empire on shaky ground, and the same is true of your life. Your character is the foundation. And the first stone of that character is emotional detachment. This is not coldness. It is not aloofness. It is the conscious refusal to let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. Detachment is the ability to observe your inner world without being owned by it. To say, this feeling is present, but it is not my master. And in doing so, you place yourself on the path of kings and builders, of philosophers and conquerors. Listen well, he who masters his emotions masters his fate. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. The one who can remain calm while others panic is the one who leads. The one who can think clearly while others drown in emotion is the one who rises. And the one who can detach from chaos, from anger, from fear, and choose purpose over passion is the one who builds a life that lasts. Let us now turn to discipline. Not the discipline of punishment, but the higher discipline of purpose. Discipline is the architecture of greatness. Without it, ambition collapses. Without it, talent is wasted. Without it, no vision survives the storms of time. Self-discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you must do, when you must do it, whether you feel like it or not. And let no man say he is free who is a slave to his feelings. True freedom comes not from indulgence, but from inner command. Ask yourself this: do I control my time, or do I let it vanish? Do I direct my thoughts, or do they run wild like untrained dogs? Do I lead my emotions, or do they drag me through life like a prisoner of moods? You must answer truthfully, for in that answer lies the secret of your success or the blueprint of your failure. The mind, like the body, can be trained. But while men labor for years to build muscles, they expect mental strength to arrive by magic. This is folly. Mental discipline must be forged like steel in the furnace of repetition, resistance, and focus. You must sit with your thoughts, confront your fears, command your impulses. Train your focus like a blade until it slices through distraction, and then, only then, will you begin to taste the fruit of mastery. There is a law I call the law of mental neutrality. It states that the mind must be clear before it can be powerful. Just as muddy water cannot reflect the sky, a cluttered mind cannot reflect truth. You must learn to observe without immediate judgment, to hear without immediate reply, to feel without immediate action. This space between stimulus and response that is your throne of power, that is where choice lives. And wherever choice lives, freedom follows. Your emotions are not facts, your impulses are not destiny, your thoughts are not laws. You must learn to be the thinker of the thought, not the thought itself, the observer of the feeling, not the feeling itself, the commander of the action, not the whim of reaction. This is the principle of thought first. If you do not choose your thoughts, your circumstances will choose them for you. And your life will become nothing more than a reflection of other people's opinions, other people's moods, other people's control. But when you take the time each day to program your mind with purpose, when you use autosuggestion to feed your mind with powerful statements of intent, then you become the builder of your own destiny. Autosuggestion is the act of planting seeds in the subconscious mind, watering them daily with repetition, and watching them bear fruit in the form of confidence, clarity, and control. The words you say to yourself become the house you live in. Choose them with precision. Speak them with conviction. Say to yourself each morning, I am the master of my mind. I do not react, I respond. I do not follow emotion, I lead it. I do not seek permission. I create my path. Repeat this until it becomes a law within you, for repetition is the road to belief, and belief is the foundation of achievement. Let us speak now of courage, the courage not to fight the world, but to fight the weakness within, the courage to sit still when your emotions demand chaos, the courage to say no when comfort whispers yes, the courage to rise when fear says hide. This inner courage is what separates those who wish from those who will. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is steady, silent, and unbreakable, and it is born only through the practice of detachment, discipline, and decision. To take control of your inner world is to reclaim your throne, to no longer beg the world for validation, to no longer chase shadows of pleasure while ignoring the blazing fire of purpose. When you take command of your own mind, you no longer need the world to agree with you. You no longer need luck, permission, or applause. You become the cause, not the effect, the initiator, not the reactor, the creator, not the consumer. Your success will not come from trying harder while remaining emotionally weak. It will not come from reading more while thinking less. It will not come from wanting more while doing nothing. It will come the day you say, enough, I will no longer live as a servant to fear, to laziness, to reaction. I will become disciplined. I will become calm. I will become dangerous to every limitation that ever stood in my way. This is not theory. This is law. Those who master themselves cannot be stopped. Their success is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of cause and effect. It is the reward of inner mastery. And I tell you this, your future is not waiting for motivation. It is waiting for domination. Dominate your thoughts, dominate your emotions, dominate your time, and the world will yield to you. Now, observe this truth. Every man is given two worlds. The outer world he cannot control, and the inner world he must. The weak man tries to bend the outer world to suit his fleeting whims. He demands that others behave as he prefers, that events conform to his desires, and that fortune smile on him regardless of his discipline. But the wise man, the man of purpose, the master of himself, he focuses solely on what is his to command. His thoughts, his reactions, his habits, his energy, his attention, his response. The outer world is unpredictable. It is subject to storms, betrayals, disappointments, economic shifts, and unforeseen changes. But your inner world, your thinking, your perspective, your emotional state, this is your kingdom. And until you sit on its throne, your life will remain a battlefield of uncertainty. Mastery begins the moment you stop reacting to the world and begin directing your mind. Now let us look at the principle of accurate thinking. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Truth is not obtained through opinion or emotion. It is the result of thought deliberately guided by logic and purpose." Most people think sloppily. They assume. They judge without evidence. They allow one bad feeling to define a whole day, one negative comment to rewrite a lifetime of progress. But you, if you are to rise above the herd, you must become a surgeon of thought, precise, unemotional, strategic. Accurate thinking is the discipline of separating fact from opinion, cause from coincidence, signal from noise. It is the practice of examining your thoughts as a scientist examines data. Is this thought true? Is it useful? Is it based on evidence or emotion? If you cannot answer these questions, then you are not thinking, you are merely reacting, and reaction is the language of mediocrity. Let me remind you, success is not granted, it is not gifted, it is not stumbled upon. It is earned through the refinement of thought, the regulation of emotion, and the discipline of consistent, purposeful action. You cannot expect to command your future if you cannot command your morning. You cannot expect to lead others if you cannot lead your impulses. You cannot expect to build wealth, impact, or legacy if you still negotiate with procrastination, excuse, or weakness. Let us now speak of the enemy. It is not out there, it is within. Laziness and fear are not external conditions, they are internal permissions. Laziness is the betrayal of discipline. It is the slow suicide of purpose. It is the whisper that says, tomorrow, while your opportunity dies today. Fear is not danger, it is imagination corrupted by cowardice. It is the mental rehearsal of failure that paralyzes action and suffocates progress. And these two, laziness and fear, are assassins. They do not strike loudly, but silently. They erode your future one comfortable decision at a time. So I ask you, with all the seriousness of life and death, have you allowed laziness to disguise itself as rest? Have you let fear hide beneath the mask of caution? Have you mistaken inaction for strategy? These are questions the honest man must ask of himself daily, because only the vigilant can win. Only the disciplined can rise. Only the emotionally detached can see clearly enough to act with power. Let us now turn to what I call the principle of emotional economy. Just as you must budget your money if you wish to build wealth, you must budget your emotions if you wish to build peace, power, and performance. The average man spends his emotional energy on things that yield no return: gossip, comparison, resentment, envy, regret. He spends his sacred energy on worry, on approval seeking, on the drama of others. But the wise man invests his emotions only in what builds him. He is selective with his attention. He is deliberate with his reactions. He understands that his emotional state is his fuel, and he refuses to pour that fuel into fires that do not serve his vision. If you desire success, you must become emotionally stingy with anything that does not serve your growth. You must stop giving your peace to people who haven't earned your presence. You must stop giving your joy to circumstances you cannot control. And above all, you must stop giving your energy to thoughts that sabotage your strength. Now hear this. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of control. And that control begins when you recognize that every emotion is a messenger, not a master. Anger says, a boundary has been crossed. Fear says, prepare. Sadness says, something must be released. These are signals, not sentences. They are meant to be heard, acknowledged, and guided, not obeyed without question. This is why detachment is the foundation of power. Because when you are detached, you can listen without being enslaved. You can feel without being ruled. You can see clearly, think sharply, and act decisively. Detachment is not a lack of care, it is the highest form of care. It is choosing long-term power over short-term pleasure. It is choosing clarity over chaos. It is saying, I refuse to be owned by what I feel. I choose to be governed by what I know. Let us now rise higher into the principle of personal initiative. Nothing of value ever comes to the man who waits. The world belongs to the doers, the builders, the initiators. You must not wait for perfect conditions. You must not wait for permission. You must not wait until the fear disappears. That day will never come. Instead, you must move decisively, consistently, intelligently. Action is the cure for fear. Movement is the weapon against stagnation, and initiative is the hallmark of the successful. You must become the one who moves first, who rises before the world wakes, who works while others whine, who creates while others criticize. You must take responsibility not only for your actions, but for your reactions, your mood, your effort, your attention. For this is the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one will force you to rise. No one will discipline you but you. And once you fully accept this, you become invincible. Let me offer you a rule to live by. If you feel resistance, lean into it. If you feel fear, move through it. If you feel laziness, crush it with action. These internal obstacles are not signs to stop, they are signs to begin. The very feeling you wish to avoid is the signal pointing toward your next level. The pain you fear is the door to your power. The discomfort you flee is the forge of your destiny. And here is what separates the master from the mediocre. The master does not wait to feel ready. He acts until he feels ready. He does not wait for motivation. He moves until momentum replaces motivation. He does not seek comfort, he seeks growth. He does not ask, is it easy? He asks, is it worth it? And when he finds what is worth it, he burns every excuse, every distraction, every weakness in the fire of focus. So I say to you now, stop being lazy. Stop being scared. Take charge of your future today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel like it. Today, right now, because this moment is the only thing you truly own. And if you do not seize it with both hands, if you do not rise with the fire of purpose, then you will spend your life explaining why you never became who you were meant to be. But if you decide, here and now, to master your emotions, discipline your mind, and reclaim your inner throne, then nothing can stop you. You will become a force of nature, a man of will, a woman of vision, a leader of destiny, and the world will make way for the one who refuses to be mastered by anything but truth. Every man is ruled by a story. That story either builds him or breaks him. It either lifts him toward greatness or drowns him in mediocrity. And the tragedy is this: most men are not even aware of the story they are living. They inherited it, they absorbed it, they accepted it without question. They repeat it in their thoughts, in their habits, in their decisions without ever realizing they have the power to rewrite it. But you must rise above this ignorance. You must become the author of your own legend. The story you repeat becomes the blueprint of your life. If you say, I've always been this way, then you have locked yourself in a prison of identity. If you say, I can't change, you have sealed your fate before the battle begins. If you say, it's not the right time, then time will always rule you. But if you rise and say, I decide who I become, I declare what I build, I design the life I live, then you step into the domain of creators, not victims. Now consider this. All transformation begins with a single shift from reaction to responsibility. This is the turning point. The moment you stop blaming your past, your parents, your boss, your spouse, your failures, your emotions, your circumstances, and instead say, it is mine to change. Until that moment, you are a puppet on the strings of fate. After that moment, you are the sculptor of your soul. Responsibility is not a burden. It is not punishment. It is power. It means you are no longer waiting, you are working, you are no longer complaining, you are creating, you are no longer hoping, you are forging. The man who accepts full responsibility for his thoughts, his actions, and his outcomes is untouchable. He cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, cannot be distracted because his power comes from within. Now let us return to the sacred ground of self-discipline. Do not confuse this with self-denial. Discipline is not about saying no to pleasure. It is about saying yes to purpose. It is not about restriction. It is about alignment. When your actions are aligned with your highest values, your mind becomes quiet, your emotions become stable, and your soul becomes dangerous to anything that dares stand in your way. And what of habits? Understand this well. Success is not one great act. It is the accumulation of 1,000 silent victories, getting up when you don't want to, finishing when you're tired, doing the hard thing when the easy path whispers your name. These small acts of integrity are the bricks of your empire. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the future you were born to build. You must become ruthlessly consistent. Not occasionally excellent, but relentlessly intentional. The successful do not negotiate with their standards, they live them. They do not hope for results, they engineer them. They do not rely on motivation, they rely on principle. This is what separates the child from the commander, the amateur from the architect, the talker from the titan. Now, consider the principle of inner sovereignty. This principle states that the highest form of success is the ability to control your internal state regardless of external conditions. Most people are emotionally enslaved by outcomes. If they win, they smile. If they lose, they collapse. If someone praises them, they feel worthy. If someone criticizes them, they crumble. This is not power. This is dependency. This is spiritual weakness. True mastery is when you can walk into chaos with peace, into resistance with resolve, into failure with focus, into rejection with dignity. When you no longer need applause to feel valuable, when you no longer need ideal conditions to operate with excellence, when your soul is anchored in a foundation so deep that no storm can move you. You must build this foundation. Daily, quietly, intentionally, you must meditate on your values. You must define your vision. You must rehearse your principles until they become your identity. Do not rely on memory. Rely on embodiment. The man who embodies self-control does not need to remember how to act in pressure. He becomes pressure. He is the calm in the storm, the command in the crisis, the presence in the chaos. And here is the great secret. The world rewards those who do not need it. When you no longer chase validation, it comes. When you no longer beg for opportunity, it appears. When you no longer shrink to fit the mold, you become the mold breaker, the leader, the pioneer, the architect of new realities. Now let me speak to your soul, not your ego. If you are lazy, it is not because you lack motivation. It is because you lack a definite purpose. Purpose ignites the spirit. Purpose awakens the warrior. Purpose crushes hesitation. Without a burning purpose, you will fall to distraction, to impulse, to the empty comfort of routine. But when you are possessed by a purpose greater than comfort, greater than fear, greater than applause, then you become unstoppable. You must define your purpose so clearly that it burns in your blood. You must write it, speak it, live it, breathe it, bleed it. Every day, you must align your actions with that vision. This is not optional. This is sacred, because the man who lacks a purpose becomes a pawn, but the man with purpose becomes a power. Now pause and make a vow. Not to me, not to anyone else, but to yourself. Vow that you will no longer tolerate laziness in your mind, that you will no longer cower before fear, that you will no longer hand over your peace, your focus, your destiny to anything outside your control. Vow that you will reclaim your inner world and become sovereign, disciplined, detached, dangerous in your clarity, and majestic in your silence. For the path ahead is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who are willing to do what few will, in order to live as few can. It is for those who understand that all greatness begins not with noise, but with inner command. And if you are willing, then the gates of power are open. Understand this. The outer world is but a mirror, a reflection of the inner man. And so long as the mirror is smudged with distortion, emotional instability, and lack of mental clarity, the reflection will remain chaotic and unsatisfying. You may change jobs, relationships, locations, income brackets, but you will find that your problems follow you with military precision until you resolve the root. The root is always within. The man who commands peace within creates order without. The man who achieves harmony within no longer chases validation, nor does he submit to panic or urgency. He walks with a slow-burning fire in his chest, unbothered by the winds of criticism or the ice of rejection, because he knows that his kingdom is not of opinion, it is of law. It is governed not by external circumstances, but by inner standards etched into the granite of his will. Let us now explore the principle of stillness as strength. Most people confuse activity with progress. They fill their schedules, chase constant stimulation, speak endlessly, react impulsively, and yet wonder why their life lacks depth and power. True power is not noise, it is stillness. It is the ability to pause before you speak, to remain unmoved before you act, to enter a room and command it not through volume but through presence. Stillness is not passivity. It is precision. It is awareness. It is the quiet furnace where your thoughts are melted down, refined, and forged into action with lethal clarity. When your mind is still, you see what others miss. You hear the truth beneath the noise. You anticipate instead of react. This is the hallmark of every great general, every wise leader, every enduring builder of legacy. They master the moment between stimulus and response. You must cultivate this stillness daily. It does not arrive by accident. It must be summoned through ritual. You must create time each day free from noise, from scrolling, from the addictive pull of the world's chaos, where you meet your own mind like a craftsman meets his tool. You must examine your thoughts, clarify your intentions, confront your fears, refine your direction. You must treat your mind as sacred ground, not a landfill for distraction. There is no excellence without solitude. There is no vision without silence. There is no self-mastery without self-examination. The man who refuses to be alone with his thoughts will never lead others. He will always be led by impulse, by algorithm, by the loudest voice in the room. So I ask you, have you become a stranger to your own soul? Have you filled your life with so much noise that you've forgotten the sound of your own truth? It is time to return to silence, not as an escape, but as a forge, as a proving ground, as a sanctuary where you refine your spirit into steel. Now let us move into a greater law, the law of identity. You do not become successful by chasing success. You become successful by becoming the type of person who creates success as a byproduct of who he is. Do not waste your time trying to mimic outcomes. Focus instead on embodying the character that produces those outcomes without force, without struggle, without desperation. Ask yourself, who must I become in order to create the life I desire, and then become it? Not tomorrow, not after more research, not after another podcast or another spark of motivation. Now, today, because identity is not inherited, it is chosen through repetition, integrity, and unwavering discipline in the small, invisible hours when no one is watching. A weak man asks, what do I feel like doing today? A powerful man asks, what would the person I am becoming do today? And he does that thing regardless of emotion, fatigue, weather, or opinion. Because identity is not formed in bursts of excitement, it is forged in sustained fire. You must align your behavior with your future self, not your past, not your comfort, not your fear. This is what I call the discipline of alignment. Your words must match your actions. Your actions must match your values. Your values must match your vision. And your vision must be clear, relentless, and immune to the petty seductions of ease. Write this into your mind. The man who is aligned internally is unstoppable externally. He no longer asks for shortcuts. He no longer craves hacks. He no longer seeks secrets, because he has become the source. He is the system. He is the foundation. He no longer borrows strength from caffeine, applause, or comparison. He generates it from the core of his being, from his rituals, from his principles, from his decisions. And what is decision if not destiny in motion? Every decision you make casts a vote for the future you are building. Every compromise you entertain, every indulgence you allow, every excuse you tolerate is a silent vote against your potential. Do not think your choices are isolated. They are cumulative. They form the architecture of your character, and your character becomes your fate. You must become violent with your decisions, not toward others, but toward your former self. You must kill the version of you that tolerated weakness, entertained doubt, and confused distraction for progress. You must rise each day with sacred aggression, not against the world, but against every part of you that seeks to pull you back into comfort, fear, and the inertia of who you used to be. Burn this into your mind. Comfort is a slow death. It flatters you as it steals your fire. It offers you safety as it poisons your strength. You are not built to coast. You were not born to tiptoe through life hoping to arrive at death safely. You were born to conquer, to create, to carve meaning into the stone of time with the chisel of action. This is the standard. Total ownership, ruthless discipline, emotional detachment, clarity of vision, purity of purpose, and the unrelenting commitment to become the one who no longer wants power, but who is power because he has mastered the only kingdom that matters, the kingdom within. And I tell you this, as plainly as thunder speaks to the sky when you conquer yourself, nothing external can conquer you. Not hardship, not failure, not rejection, not betrayal, not delay. Because your source is internal, your fire is eternal, your direction is sovereign, and your destiny is now no longer a question of if, but only of how far. Understand this. The greatest currency in the modern world is not money, not status, not even knowledge. It is attention. He who controls his attention controls his reality. He who wastes it scatters his power, and he who trains it becomes immortal in his deeds. Your focus is your blade. If it is dull, you will struggle in every arena. If it is sharp, You will cut through noise, through distraction, through the cluttered madness of a world that worships comfort and chaos. To sharpen your focus, you must become intolerant of fragmentation. Every tab left open on your screen, every meaningless notification, every shallow interaction, every piece of mindless entertainment, these are not innocent. They are thieves, assassins of potential. They bleed you, drip by drip, until you wonder why you feel overwhelmed, foggy, tired, lost. But this is not mystery. This is mathematics. You are dividing your attention, and divided attention is diluted power. Reclaim your mind, own your environment, create rituals. Design sacred windows of time where your focus is non-negotiable, where the door is closed, the phone is gone, the world is silent, and the only thing that exists is the task before you. This is where true creation happens. This is where success is shaped not in the flashes of motivation, but in the quiet concentration of a disciplined will. The men who bend history do not work harder than you. They focus deeper than you. Their hours are concentrated. Their energy is directed like a laser. They do not multitask. They do not dilute. They do not dabble. They go deep and they go long. That is what makes them giants. Now let us move to the law of internal state first. This law states that your state, your energy, your confidence, your clarity must be generated internally before the results arrive. Most people believe they will feel strong once they succeed. They believe they will feel disciplined once they've achieved a result. But this is backward. Success is not the cause of your internal state, it is the effect of it. You must learn to feel confident when you are still unknown. You must feel unstoppable while you are still unseen. You must operate like a champion when no one is watching, clapping, or paying you. Why? Because the man who can self-generate intensity without reward is the man who commands outcomes regardless of delay. He is not swayed by the timeline. He is not discouraged by the silence. He moves forward like a force of nature, not because it's working yet, but because he is working. You must stop asking the world for permission to feel powerful. The world is slow. The world is reactive. The world is inconsistent. But you can train your mind to rise before the outcome, to wake up with intensity, to speak with authority, to act with purpose, to think like a leader even when the world still sees a beginner. Because if you wait for the world to crown you, you'll die in the waiting room. Crown yourself with focus, with fire, with truth, with repetition. This is what we call becoming before becoming. You must become the person mentally, spiritually, emotionally, behaviorally before the results arrive. And when the results arrive, they will not surprise you. They will not humble you. They will simply confirm you. Now let us enter the circle of control. In every situation, there are only two domains, what you can control and what you cannot. Weak men obsess over the latter. They complain about the government, the economy, the news, the critics, the weather, the algorithm, the traffic, the delay, the betrayal. Their energy is scattered into powerlessness. But strong men ruthlessly focus on the circle of control. Their thoughts, their breath, their posture, their focus, their schedule, their standards, their reactions, their grit. Your mind is a weapon, but only if you wield it on the terrain you own. The moment you give your energy to things outside your control, you lose your throne. You become reactive, and the reactive man cannot lead. He can only follow his emotions, his fears, the crowd. Shrink your circle until you dominate it. Then expand it, but never lose control. This is how you grow. Not by spreading yourself thin, but by becoming so powerful in a small domain that expansion becomes inevitable. So now, pause and observe the reality of your life. Not emotionally, not judgmentally, but accurately. What are you feeding your mind? What are you tolerating? Where is your attention leaking? Where is your power asleep? You must confront this, not with shame, but with clarity. Because without clarity, there is no transformation. And without transformation, there is no future, only repetition. And let me be very clear. If you do not intentionally construct your mind, it will be constructed for you by advertising, by entertainment, by culture, by social media, by the fears of others. Your mind will not remain neutral. It will be programmed either by purpose or by passivity, either by vision or by default. You must become the architect of your inner world. Every thought chosen, every belief examined, every emotion guided, every word deliberate, every hour accounted for, because the architect who builds without a blueprint ends in collapse, but the man who builds with vision and structure becomes the master of his fate. And here now you must decide, who am I becoming? Not what do I want, not what sounds good, not what will impress others, but who at the deepest level am I becoming? That question will separate you from the masses, because most people never ask it. They drift, they conform, they adapt to the mediocre temperature of the world around them. But not you, not anymore. You are the thermostat now, not the thermometer. You set the temperature, you lead the energy, you control the tone, you decide the standard. You are no longer a servant of emotion. You are no longer a child of chaos. You are no longer waiting for life to get better. You are rising, you are ruling, you are remembering who you are and reconstructing what you must become. The mountain of mastery does not grant its summit to the impatient or the undisciplined. It yields only to the relentless. We now descend into the very bedrock of inner transformation. No more surface changes. No more half-hearted resolutions. What comes next is the foundation on which empires are built and eternal legacies are forged. This is the realm of unshakable character. Let us speak now of the law of inner standard. Not the external rules you follow when others are watching, but the internal code you enforce when no one sees. This is where your true strength lives, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in the applause, but in the solitude. What you do when it's hard, when it's silent, when it's inconvenient, that defines you. The world teaches you to chase results, but the wise man chases standards, knowing that when his standards are high enough, the results cannot help but follow. Weak men ask, what can I get away with? Strong men ask, what is required of the greatest version of me? And then they exceed even that. Because they do not work to impress, they work to express who they truly are. Your standards must become sacred, non-negotiable, etched into your bones. They must not rise and fall with mood, motivation, or praise. They must be fixed, immovable, as a mountain in the storm, and you must protect them as if your destiny depends on them, because it does. Now ask yourself with ruthless honesty, what have I been tolerating in my life? In my thoughts, in my habits, in my attitude, in my language, in my environment, in my body, in my time? The truth will burn, but it will also purify. Whatever you tolerate, you endorse. Whatever you allow, you attract. Whatever you excuse, you become. And here is the brutal beauty of life. It will give you not what you want, but what you tolerate. Raise your standards, and your world must follow. You cannot stay broke with rich standards. You cannot stay weak with warrior standards. You cannot stay lost with disciplined, purposeful, elevated standards. The outer world always bends to the inner law. This brings us now to the mirror principle. You will always attract not what you desire, but what you are. Life reflects the man. If you live in chaos internally, chaos will chase you externally. If you harbor resentment, betrayal will find you. If you are undisciplined within, failure will multiply without. But when you become clear deeply, fundamentally, unapologetically clear on who you are and what you stand for, then clarity becomes your compass, and your life begins to mirror the excellence of your inner world. Do not seek more, become more. You want respect? Respect yourself through the discipline of action. You want peace? Eliminate the war within. You want abundance? Remove the poverty of laziness, distraction, and emotional dependency from your soul. This is the great paradox. Once you no longer need the world to validate you, the world begins to follow your lead. Once you detach from outcome and focus solely on internal alignment, the external begins to mirror the inner. Now let us examine the secret few ever dare to look at directly. Pain is the gatekeeper of power. Most flee from pain. They numb it, avoid it, blame others for it. But the wise man uses it. He extracts meaning from it. He turns it into energy. He makes pain his coach, not his curse. Understand this. Pain is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It shows you what still controls you. It reveals where you are soft, where you are weak, where you are undisciplined. And if you face it with courage, it sharpens you. If you avoid it, it enslaves you. Suffering is the fire that either burns you to ash or forges you into iron. The outcome is your choice. Do not ask for an easy life. Ask for a resilient mind. Ask for a forged will. Ask for fire. Because the man who has suffered deeply and chosen to rise will never be defeated by anything superficial again. Now embrace this truth. You will not always feel like showing up. You will not always be excited. You will not always be energized, understood, celebrated, or comfortable. And yet the master shows up anyway. He moves anyway. He trains anyway. Because his allegiance is not to comfort, but to principle. This is discipline without emotion, the ability to follow through on your standards without needing to feel like it. This is the final stage of maturity, when a man no longer negotiates with his feelings, but instead commands them, not cruelly, but consciously. He says to the lazy voice within, "You do not speak for me." He says to the fear within, "I heard you, but I'm moving forward anyway." And in doing so, he becomes sovereign. You must stop trusting emotion as your compass. Emotions are indicators, not directors. They tell you what is, but not what to do. You must take that power back. You must become the leader, not the follower of your inner weather. And now we reach the principle of self-command. To command the self is to take full authorship of your thoughts, energy, direction, posture, language, tone, and time. No leaks, no self-pity, no indulgence in the fantasy that someone else is to blame or someone else will fix it. Self-command is not about being harsh. It is about being holy in your standards. You respect yourself so much that you will not allow yourself to fall beneath your highest expression. You hold yourself to account daily, hourly, without excuse, without exception, because your future is not a dream, it is your duty, your calling, your design. Every time you wake up early, when the comfort voice says sleep, you strengthen self-command. Every time you finish the workout, when the quit voice says enough, you strengthen self-command. Every time you say no to weakness, laziness, excuse, self-betrayal, and victimhood, you strengthen self-command. And with enough repetition, self-command becomes identity. You stop trying to be disciplined. You become a disciplined man. You stop trying to act confident. You become a confident woman. You stop trying to get motivated. You embody motivation. This is the transformation. This is the unlocking. When the gap between who you are and who you were born to be disappears and you become whole, clear, unbreakable. You now stand at the edge of the ultimate threshold. Not the threshold of theory, but the threshold of decision. Will you step through? Will you act? Will you take what you've heard not as inspiration, but as instruction? Will you rise? We now cross into the arena of irrevocable decision. There comes a moment when a man must stop preparing, stop planning, stop collecting information, and finally decide who he is. Decision is not intellectual. It is spiritual. It is the moment the soul stands up and declares, "This is who I am now, and I will never retreat." Not "I'll try," not "I hope," not "I want," but "I will." I am. It is done. Irrevocable decision is not loud. It is not theatrical. It does not need witnesses or validation. It happens in the dark, in silence, when you finally become sick of your own excuses, when you look at your past patterns and say, "This ends with me." It is the death of hesitation, the burial of mediocrity, the birth of a new standard. And from that moment on, you are no longer seeking change, you are enforcing it. Let me say this with clarity. Until you decide, your potential is meaningless, your knowledge is wasted, your goals are weak. But the moment you decide, the universe begins to reorganize around your conviction. Life starts bending to the will of the one who knows who they are. And if you do not decide, life will decide for you. And it will choose smallness, fear, and decay every single time. Now take this truth and write it into your bones. You do not rise to the level of your feelings. You rise or fall to the level of your standards and decisions. And your decisions must now be final. No back doors, no maybe later. No when I feel ready. Final, firm, finished. This is not a motivational concept. This is a law. Those who burn the boats win the war. Those who leave the door open crawl back to safety. But the man who declares, "There is nothing left for me but forward," becomes a storm. And the world has no defense against a man with nothing left to lose because he gave it all to purpose. Now listen well. You will be tested, You will be tempted to revert, to doubt, to entertain the lies that once ruled you. But when that voice comes, do not negotiate, do not explain, do not engage, destroy it, replace it, return immediately to discipline, to vision, to movement. You do not argue with weakness, you outrun it. You are not here to survive. You are here to dominate your own mind, to reforge your identity in the furnace of purpose, to build a life so aligned, so disciplined, so elevated that when others see you, they see what is possible, not what is common. Let us conclude now not with comfort, but with challenge. From this moment forward, let your mornings begin in silence, not stimulation. Before the world can scream its noise into your mind, let you speak first deliberately with power through prayer, command, affirmation, or clarity of thought. Let your hours be measured not by convenience, but by conquest. Conquest over laziness, over hesitation, over the gravitational pull of your lesser self. Let your actions rise from principle, not emotion. Let your habits emerge from vision, not mood. Let your words be clean, firm, and aligned with your destiny, not diluted by the need for approval. Let your environment reflect your future, not your past. Create spaces that demand focus. Eliminate anything that caters to comfort and mediocrity. This is not decoration, it is design. Let your circle shrink until it is sacred. Surround yourself only with those who sharpen your blade. Tolerate no voices that normalize weakness. Seek no affirmation from those who have not yet built what you intend to. Let your energy be protected like treasure. Do not give it freely. Do not waste it explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become undeniable. Let your mind become your fortress. Feed it wisdom. Train it with repetition. Sharpen it with truth. Do not allow a single thought to dwell in your house if it does not serve your empire. And let your future be earned with the sweat of your daily discipline, the pain of self-confrontation, and the fire of relentless forward motion. The world owes you nothing, but your highest self demands everything. Give it. Now go, not as you were, but as you are now. You are no longer lazy. You are no longer scared. You are no longer led by emotion, hesitation, or the whispers of a timid world. You are the master of your mind, the commander of your body, the architect of your life, the ruler of your destiny. And nothing, not fear, not fatigue, not failure, can stop the one who decides and acts. So I leave you with no parting comfort. I leave you with a command. Take charge of your future today, not tomorrow, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready. Today, and never look back.